When people ask me what my workflow is, it's hard to really explain. When people ask me what my workflow is, it's pretty hard to explain because inspiration comes from a lot of places. It's not just one particular application I use that gets me the idea that I'm looking for. In this video, I'm going to be covering a bit of a breakdown of my workflow, in addition to the previous video where I gave a good overview of the starting apps to explain. The applications I use are divided to Grooveboxes, samplers, loopers, and production apps, or DAWs as people would normally call them. Now, this isn't necessarily like hard-coded. You're gonna find, I'm not gonna mention stuff like effects or synths yet, because those are just more add-ons that I can do directly into applications. So in the previous video, I mentioned using Groovebox, Blocs Wave, Launchpad, and Garageband. I'm gonna expand on that in this video. My Groovebox type application would include Amplified Groovebox, but there's quite a few others. Reason Compact's one of them. Drambo is another one. Gadget 2 is another one that I would classify under this category. I've got a few other applications here which I haven't even looked into, like Figure or Electribe Wave, or even the noise application. All Grooveboxes are just applications where it allows you to come up with creative ideas with sequences, with loops, a lot of things in just a small contained box. In other words, it removes a lot of the pressure of you having to think of which applications to work with, except for Drambo, but that's a whole nother different story. It doesn't even have to be just drums or something. I consider tonally a Groovebox to me because I come up with simple MIDI sequences that I can take into another application. It's my source for quick ideas. Piano motifs, I'd still call that as a Groovebox because I just get quick ideas from it and I can easily transfer it into something else to work with. The next one is going to be samplers. Yo, did someone say sample? Sampler is going to be my Blocs Wave category. But this is where a lot of things, if I want to remix a particular idea that I generate from a Groovebox, or I just want to work with previous ideas like loops or stretch it out in some way. My go-to apps would be definitely Blocs Wave, but I'd include Resize on this category as well. I would include as well Koala Sampler because it's such a simple application where I can easily capture audios from all around the environment, remix it and turn it into a completely different idea. It's never really my final destination because it all depends on what I want to do with it. If I want to just instantly perform it, I take it directly into some sort of looper. So my looper applications could even be Koala Sampler or Blocs Wave, but a lot of times I consider Amplify, Launchpad as this category. Remix Live as well, if you have this application. I could use Beatmaker Tree, but these are apps that allow me to be able to repeatedly make loops. Now granted, it's not just audio loops. I can include something like LK by Imaginando to be able to take those MIDI ideas I did, for example in Gadget 2, and export it into there to be able to add on a lot more dynamics into it. Atom 2 is one on my radar as well. I have the application, but I haven't dived into it. It's something I could technically use to get things rolling in something like AUM or audiobus, but that's a completely different video. Similarly with Beatmaker, Zenbeats, Infinite Looper by Secret Base Design, these are apps that can also do this thing. In other words, a looper is something that plays the idea over and over again. The MIDI looper I've been using a lot has been Fyro 4, and Fyro 4 is still such an amazing app that if I want to make anything that I can use in a live loops format, it's kind of like the source of where I go to. So what is really a looper? A looper is the place where you can play an idea over and over and over again. It allows for a lot of experimentation. It's where you take all the stuff you used in your, like you've got your samples and your Grooveboxes, to test out ideas to try and see which ones work for you and get some sort of creative spark. I could even consider the Endless application, Endless with 3 S's, as another looper that I use. In other words, capture audio, get all your ideas together and experiment and find something that matches. That's pretty much what a looper is for me. The production environment is where I take all these ideas generated from all these 3 types of applications and put it to the test. Garageband is my main one, but I could also do the same thing in Gadget2. I could do the same thing directly in, I could do the same thing in Beatmaker 3. I could do the same thing in Cubasis. I could do the same thing in Zenbeats. I could do the same thing in Aria. I personally just use Garageband because of its simplicity. I am looking to do a little bit more in Beatmaker 3 just because I like the fact that when I do some stuff in Garageband, I can just chop it up directly in Beatmaker 3. Zenbeats is also another one I'm looking into because I like the fact I can interact with my Android device. Similarly with Cubasis 3 that is. But yeah, wow, that's a long list of applications. And I think that's where things get a bit overwhelming. How do I keep track of which apps I use? But that's the thing. A lot of times, inspiration comes from a variety of sources. So I do not force myself to be stuck on a particular workflow. A lot of times, if I really don't know what I want to do, I tend to just start with Groovebox or Reason Compact if there's a particular sound that I like. Which brings me to another point here. Whenever you're using multiple applications like this, just make sure you keep the sounds you like the most. Favorite them if possible. That way, whenever you leave an application and you come back a few weeks or a few months later, you have a good idea of which sounds you like. It's something I did in Groovebox for the past few weeks, where I looked through all the sound packs I had and I listened to them and I was like, do I really like this sound? And then I made the hard decision, like, you know what? These are the sounds I like the most and I tend to use a lot. Might as well just save it in a preset, and it helps speed up my workflow so that I'm not really searching for sounds. I know the type of sounds that I really like and I just work from there. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I know it was just me mentioning a ton of applications, but the summary is there are so many apps out there and there's bound to be something out there that you'd really like, that relates well with you. The important part is just find the apps that work well for you and that cause you to be inspired and just work from there. No one's workflow is ever the same, but you can gain ideas from one place to another and find your own unique spin on it. Anyways, this has been SEONN. Hope this video was helpful again. Take it easy. Wish.